Hello and welcome to this episode of The Inner Estate with your host, Bridget Stuart. So thrilled to introduce Steve Zin. Steve, thank you for being our guest today.
My absolute pleasure. I've been excited to do this for the last few weeks when we first set it up, so I'm excited to be here.
I am really excited to have you here. So just briefly, I'll share with people that you have been in the mortgage and lending industry for 21 years and have been very successful in that arena. You're currently the regional vice president of the Zin Mortgage Group, and I want to talk to you today because the mortgage industry has had a series of challenges over the last 21 years that you've been in it. And you have not only stayed in it, but you have thrived and built a really strong, wonderful career. So I want to talk to you about how you've built what you've built in the last 21 years, because I assume that you have faced challenges, you've overcome obstacles, you've probably had to make big decisions. I'm sure you've had major things outside of your control that have impacted what you're doing at work, both with your team and your clients. And I want to dive in on that with you because you're a strong leader and you've been successful, and I believe you have a lot to share. So what can you share with us about that?
Awesome. Well, I always like to start at what I think is the beginning,
That would be great.
before I even got into sales. And challenges happen all the time. And some of them, when we're in the thickest, worst parts of them, we don't know how good of an outcome is beyond that problem. And, we're so in the thick of the mud, in this thick of the episode that's happening. It's really hard to see that light at the end of the tunnel. But man, I can tell you that, I always think the good Lord hits me hard because I don't listen very well when I have to make a change, and stupid stuff happens. As an example, when I was 19 years old, this is back in 1996, 1997. I was making $15 an hour, which was a huge amount of money back then.
Right.
I was a team leader at a plastic extrusion company making tubes, and I was dealing with 500-degree plastic extrusion machines, burning myself and all that fun stuff. And I had a relationship at the time, and I was working days, and then at the end of a month, I would switch to nights, 6 p.m.
Oh,
to
yes.
6 a.m., 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So as a 19, 20-year-old, I was able to adapt to that.
Mm-hmm.
During one of my night shifts, let's just say that my relationship kind of fell apart while I wasn't around, and things went
Yes. Okay.
sideways. And I was promoted at a young age, way too young to be put into a leader position. And emotionally, I was not able to function at this job anymore. I was falling apart. All I could think about was the situation that was happening at home, and my
Right.
mind was just totally clouded. So the long and the short of it is, you couldn't keep going at that level, and I lost that position. And one day it's just my get out of jail free cards. The people caring about me and what I was dealing with ran out, and I was ultimately let go. Now, I floated for a little bit past that point, but ultimately that was a lot of money that I was making at a very, very young age. And it was very, very challenging to replace that. And soon enough, the only direction that I saw to change it was in sales.
Yes.
Sales is ultimately what led me to the mortgage business, because this is still a sales job at the end of the day.
Right.
But none of that would ever happen, as I am in the deepest, darkest hole of my life that I knew at my very, very young age at that time. None of this would have happened. I'm in Kansas. I'm in a $1.5 million home. I have an amazing career. I'm very, very happy with my life. Amazing wife, amazing kids. And none of it would have happened if October 22nd, 1990, it's burned in there.
There you
October
go.
22nd, 1997 did not happen. And that's just one of those things that happened repetitively in my life during a at least 15-year span. That when stupid stuff happened, it led me down the right path, because even right now, business is difficult. I've gone through a company transition, and things are very, very challenging right now. Production's not where it's supposed to be. And I know that it's because of this transition that we've been doing and getting acclimated to this new company. And what I know is that what I'm dealing with today is what's going to affect February, March, and April.
Yes.
So if I get into the muck today, and it gets in over my head, and I start seeing muck, and I stop moving forward, I'm never going to get out of the muck. So every bit of activity that I do today is the journey to make sure that March, April, May is going to be amazing, which it will be.
That they're robust because you're creating that right now.
Yep. But that
So,
mentality doesn't happen unless you've experienced it or been coached to understand it.
yes,
You either
I agree.
experience it yourself or you're surrounded by people who have experienced it that can help lead you through those things.
I have a quick question. You were fired from your
Politely
the first
excused.
position. Yeah. Politely excused. Provided an escort
Yes.
out of the building. Which was harder to replace, the relationship or the career?
Wow, that's an amazing question. So I think that there's a couple, the most important choices. Now, in my world, the most important choices that we make, the most important relationship choices is LPs, our life partner and our
Yes.
loan partner, which is part of our business structure. And man, it took a long time, especially because I was a little bit broken
Mhm.
after, having that stuff happen. It took more than a minute to replace the relationship. And I think that jobs come and go. I think careers are difficult to build and do what we do with careers, but I think the relationship is what I'd have to lean into. I'm very, very blessed
Yeah.
that, I met my goody two shoes of a wife that if I didn't meet with her, I probably would have had a couple too many drinks in the last 20 years. And I might be a little
Mhm.
bit more worn down today because, man, my lovely wife, Jackie's a goody two shoes by far.
That's awesome.
She
And it
evened me
sounds
out.
like she's a great source of energy and strength for you.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. And she just actually published her first children's book on Amazon. She just released it the other day. It's Princess Gracie and the Magical Strawberry.
We will put a link to that anywhere you're listening to this. The link to the book will be in the description.
That's my little thing that I'm very, very proud of her over. And she started making a series with that, which is really, really cool. But she's a rock. She's an absolute rock. So I can always count on her. And she has been my absolute number one supporter. So I'm very, very grateful that I have her.
Well, I think it's remarkable that you learned lessons in the face of what is defeat with losing that first, good paying job and then realizing that the opportunity for you was more in the sales arena. But we also know that you've been in lending for 21 years. So what were you selling in between the plastic extrusion tubes and getting into mortgages?
So the only way to make money quickly at that level back in those days was to start out in the car sales business.
Yes. Yes.
The Milwaukee Journal, I was looking through it one day and it said $3,000 guarantee for the first 90 days, Brager Ford. And I'm like, I can talk to people, I can
Right.
figure this out. And that was a journey upon journey. So that was where I learned my base sales skills.
Mhm.
And it was a racket, man. It was a very, very difficult position to be in at first. New cars, not used. So we had to actually educate ourselves a lot on the functionality of the products that we were selling. And I ended up working for a dealership out of Burlington, Wisconsin. I ended up as their number one salesperson for gross commission on particular vehicles, which we had about 50 vehicles we were selling back then. And I had the majority of the awards for the highest sales commission on them. But soon enough, and this was, I guess, one of the fun things that happened with me and my wife is that I was there for a good amount of time. I was very successful there. I walked in one day and I'm like, I'm not supposed to be here. And
Okay.
I walked up to my boss and I'm like, John, I'm not putting my 2-week notice. And of course, in a sales position, that means, oh, you're being escorted out today.
Correct. That's right. Another private escort
Another private escort. So,
provided free of charge.
yep. And I didn't have anywhere to land. And it was literally, I was like, I'm going to find something different because I wanted to go into management. I wanted to be a manager in the sales business. And, I ended up calling one of my good friends in the business that, owned a dealership in the past, not at that time, but he introduced me to somebody at a dealership in Kenosha, Wisconsin that I ended up meeting my wife in. And of course, she has a wonderful, fun story. But shortly after I was hired, I was there doing sales training and being a new car salesman there. And, she was introduced to everybody but me. And I actually chased after her. I was like, hey, hi, by the way, my name's Steve. And, that's part of our cute little first meeting story. But,
Right.
she was hired as a receptionist. I was only there for 3 months because that was not, where I was going to get the management portion that I was looking for. But It was just that perfect timing. And I did walk into a glass door looking back at her smile, and luckily she did not see me do it. So that I almost broke it, I'm pretty sure, and it was pretty loud. So I have no idea how she didn't see it, but
That is funny. And then so there for 3 months, you're doing sales training, and that was a stepping stone to something where you did get into leadership or management?
sales management in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is not equal to being the best sales guy in Burlington, Wisconsin. It was
Right.
a very challenging position because I will say that in sales, period, not just dealership sales, but the best salesman will always outrank the manager in the owner's eyes. 100%.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
doesn't matter how hard the sales manager works, so on and so forth. So I hopped around a little bit. I took my lumps, and there was one instance where I ran into a dealership that I worked as a manager at, and the current manager or the current general manager of the branch had a PhD. Now, this is very important in car dealerships because that doesn't stand for being a doctor. That stands for Papa has dealership. So the
Okay.
father owned the dealership.
Yes.
So he was the boss. That's it. The boss. And something happened that one day I came in and, Steve, we don't need you anymore. One more time escorted.
There
At
you
this
go.
time I had my fill. I went home and I was like, I just don't think I can do this anymore. I don't think I belong in the car business. My wife,
You
I,
did
I
not
didn't
have
know
a
anything.
PhD?
I did not have a PhD at
That's
all.
right, yeah.
I had a very good work ethic from a father that woke up at 3 a.m. To a beeper going off to go fix heating and air conditioning units in malls and ice
Mhm.
rinks. I had that work ethic instilled into me.
Right.
But I got home and I looked at Jackie and I'm like, I got nothing left in this industry. I just don't want to do this anymore. I'm not happy. But how do I replace that income? That's all it came down to. So I was making decent income at that time, which was much more than
Yeah.
$15 an hour.
Right.
And my wife, always my advocate, always my biggest backer, said that I can sell anything. So I started looking in the Milwaukee Journal. I started trying to find out, what other career. I remember hearing a lot of car guys going to the mortgage industry. So I ended
Mhm.
up interviewing for Hometown Equity Mortgage, which we have our little jingle that I used to write at a time. And I ended up working there. And 9 years in, I was running the company. So I was there for a total of 9 years from 2003 or 4 till 2013, November. I actually resigned the day after October 22nd because I did not
Very
want to
nice.
associate the same day with the other thing, which was funny. So, but I resigned this time. I was not escorted out. So, but 9 years, it was, I made more money than I ever imagined that I was going to be able to do. We were a refinance shop. Now, what that means is
Okay.
it was a lead generation shop. We used mail to make the phone ring and offer people adjustments in their rate or consolidation. And of course, I lent during the prior to Great Recession crazy time where all you needed to get a mortgage back then was a pulse. If you could
Correct.
fog a mirror by showing you're
That's
alive,
right.
you got a mortgage.
Right.
So, but, it went well. And soon enough, there was just a time that me and the owner no longer saw eye to eye and I wanted something different. And once again, I jumped with no parachute. I had no job lined up. And this time a little bit different because I had a house and, a wife to take care of and all that other fun stuff. And, I ended up finding the right place to land at that time. And I ended up going to Midwest Equity Mortgage, which is a great company, had great owners. And the way they didn't have a vice president position or anything like that available, but the way that it replaced my income was we dealt with higher loan amounts in different states like California. I was in Missouri.
Right.
So we were dealing with California, Florida, a lot of other places, still refinances though. And then in 2017, I got introduced to a coaching company for mortgages that was wonderful. And man, when I saw the guy yelling and screaming on YouTube, and I was just like, I need him to yell at me. It was just, it's what I needed is I needed direction because the companies I was working for at the time did not know how to spell the word realtor. So they
Okay.
strictly worked on refinances.
Yes.
And we know that's two completely different channels of business. So we
Right.
have to be very giving to our real estate agents, a very high level communication to them. And they just didn't understand how to do that. So I ended up going there. I met my future boss and started working for Cross Country Mortgage. And I was there for 8 years, 8 wonderful years, good company. And Then I got offered a really nice position at New American Funding in a leadership position, which, called to me that I could use my coaching skills and whatnot. And yep, here I am.
Here you are.
What a long
So,
story.
yeah, but it's interesting because what I hear as a couple of themes with what you've shared is there was the work ethic. You had the inspiration from your parents. You knew that you wanted to be successful. That was there. But you also, it's not as if it was perfect ponies and rainbows every day. You've been let go,
Yep.
came back.
Some hard times.
I want to take you back to something that stood out to me. Top salesperson at what sounds like a good car dealership, and you were making good money, and you walked through the doors one morning and you knew you weren't supposed to be there and gave
It
your
was
notice.
absolutely the craziest thing that I had no dwelling on it whatsoever. I walked in there and I'm a spiritual guy. I believe that
Yes.
God has his hand on me one way or another. And sometimes it's an open across the face. And I think that that was one of those times because what I would have missed is my wife because she was only at that job for 3 months. Literally, if I did not decide then and there that that was the time that I was not supposed to be here anymore. It rivets me. It just blows my mind how different life could be today. So outside of divine poking at my
Intervention.
brain,
Yeah.
you know, I can't explain much else for that. I just walked in that day and just knew that I wasn't supposed to be there anymore, and just walked up to John and said, I'm just not happy anymore, and I'm going to put in my 2-week notice. And again, a little bit. I figured I can find a job in 2 weeks.
Right, right.
So I need to find a job a little quicker than that then. But I had all the time that I needed, right?
Yeah, that's right. They gave you a little time off, so you
Yeah,
could
yeah. A little time off with no
find
pay.
it faster. So, have there been other times where you have felt that strong a moment of clarity or a moment of satori where you were like struck by needing to make a move? Or was it really that one time
Recently, when I left cross country, just made a decision. I made a decision within a very short amount of time that it was time to change.
to
And
move?
I had no doubts. I go off my gut very often. And, it's believe that the changes that I've made and the opportunities that I have at New American Funding make the sacrifice, because there is a sacrifice along with this no matter what. I have agreements about not speaking to, past clients for a couple of years, which a lot of us do in this
Right.
industry. And I felt that the loss was worth the overall gain long term and my happiness, because that's ultimately what I needed to find again was my happiness. I wasn't happy where I was for whatever the reasons were. So it was time to make a change.
I want to stay there for a minute because I would not be surprised if someone out there listening to us can relate. Making great money at a great company, cross country more great company, right?
Fantastic company.
Absolutely wonderful company. And they might be sitting there listening to the two of us and saying, but how can you walk away? If you're how can you find that strength to walk away from the known and the safety and the security of where you already are and go to something new?
So there's a famous comedian that I love very much, Mr. Jim Carrey.
Oh,
And
yes.
he said it like this, and I like to remember this. His father was an accountant, and his father was a very, very good accountant, and he was one of the most funny people that he's ever met in his life. And his father was never able to take the chance to walk away from accounting, which he was unhappy with, and pursue something in comedy or being a comedian or anything. And he spent the rest of his life and passed away not realizing that dream and missing out on that. And there's a time, as long as my family is taken care of, because I will tell you this, and this going to go off for just a moment because I like
Yeah.
talking about my family and making money and how I relate those two.
Hmm.
I work as hard as I do because I'm selfish, period. My family would take 10 times less to have twice as much of me. So I'm never going to say that I do this because of my family. That's a cop out.
Right.
That's horrible to say. So, but as long as I'm earning enough to provide for them, I would rather be happy making less than miserable making more.
Yes.
And I would like to take the chance on myself to have something greater because I know that I have the ability. I had a secure thing. Accounting was secure. The scary thing would be going off and trying to be a comedian. But then Jim Carrey, look at where he is, in his life today, follies
Right.
and all. He's made a lot of money, had a very successful career, and things have gone out really well for him. But if he would have taken the safe path, which would have been staying at Cross Country Mortgage, God bless the company,
Mhm.
I wouldn't realize what I'm going to realize. And I know that I'm going to realize a lot of wonderful things in the coming years.
And you shared with me before today that you've reaped benefits of making the change already because you just feel more in alignment with your own values and your own desires in your career.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the reasons that I moved over to New American Funding is we have a program called Reels, and I work in the real estate and mortgage world. And I believe firmly that the real estate agents do a tremendous amount of work to get in front of the people in the first place, but then they just hand them, no cost, to the loan officer, and the loan officer gets paid a tremendous amount of money to do that. I believe that as long as there are legal ways of doing it, which there are, that the real estate agent should establish some sort of beneficial route of getting paid on lending transactions. But it goes in much more than just doing the work on the actual transaction that's happening right now. We've had 3 years of very high interest rates. And,
Yes.
I don't know if you believe the same way that I do, but I'm almost 100% sure that rates are coming down next year because there's a certain political party that wants to stay in power. And there's something that I heard midterms or something like that's happening next November. And then you hear housing, and everything. Okay, the president's talking to the king of the Philippines. Housing rates got to come down. Okay, cool. You hear a 50-year mortgage, which, although it's a lower payment, not so good of an idea. You hear about a portable mortgage, taking the interest rate that you have now and moving it to the next house. I think that's a great idea if you can refinance up to the original amount. There's talk around it. So something's going to happen. And these agents that have worked tremendously hard for the last 3 years and put people in the homes with 6.5%, 7.5% interest rates, well, they have a lot of opportunity to talk to their past clients, be of a new level of value, and not talking about, hey, you buying or selling?
Yeah.
No, Bridget, thanks, bye. Hey, no, I have my own mortgage team now, and I want to make sure I have your mortgage rate, and we're keeping an eye on it for you because I value you and I want to take care of you. They have an opportunity to take action with refinances and get paid on
Yes.
refinances. And then not only that, they have the opportunity to introduce their lending team to other real estate agents and get paid on those. So it's a wonderful channel. You just have to get licensed as a lending loan officer, 20 hours of pre-licensing education, take a test. I think it's easier than the real estate test personally, but you do that, you're done. And if you do a good amount of production, you and I know that on the self-employed side of life, insurance is challenging and it's not always the best insurance that you can get. But if you're doing at least one transaction per month on this program, you can get United Healthcare, which is one of the top companies in the country, and have
That's great.
actually great insurance and a matching 401k retirement account, which again, on the self-employed side, we don't have enough opportunities for retirement.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so you're just feeling better, doing better, and rebuilding your team and everything that you're offering. And you're expanding your impact both as a coach, a leader, and in the relationships with realtors.
Yep.
Yeah. So
100%.
and that is satisfying another part of you that is not necessarily the part of you that works to earn money. It's the part of you that gets satisfied in a non-monetary way.
Fulfillment.
Yeah.
So, and that brings me to coaching, which is, its own fun story and scary story, like anything else. The one thing I'll say is that when I left cross country, I was very scared. Change is scary. And, I mean, I shook the dice for my family. And I know that I say that I do this for me and all that stuff, but I still have to pay for them. I still have to take care of them.
Right, right.
And it's rolling the dice on a new career. But I was part of a wonderful coaching company for 8 years. I was very decorated at that company. So I was one of their best students. I won more student of the semester awards than most coaches there did.
Right.
And I was in, I love the community. I love the culture of the coaching program. I just stopped learning and I struggled with that greatly. And it also got to the point where I wanted to coach and I felt like I was in that place in life that I could be a coach. Now, transparency's sake, I could not be a coach with that company at that time because my net worth was not where the leadership wanted it to be. And that's okay. Okay, that's the way it's built. But that was someone telling me no to my inner feeling that we talk about a couple of times. When I have that desire and that thought process and that I need to move now. I need to move now or I'm going to miss something that's very important in my life. That was another one of those moments. And ultimately, I reached out to Amir Sayed, Larry Montani with Growth Only Coaching, and I spoke with them. And, I talked with them for a little bit before deciding, but, I ultimately decided to join it. And it's one of the most amazing coaching companies in the country for mortgage originators. But I'm lucky that I still get to coach real estate agents and originators. And I often tell Amir not to stop paying me, but I would do it for free.
Because it's that satisfying.
Because it's that satisfying. So giving somebody a hand up, being able to be part of the reason and a memory with that person that, man, if I didn't know Steven Zin, where would I be? Because I can say that about a lot of people that I had as coaches in the previous company. There was a lot of people that influenced my life and changed my direction. And I was a very thirsty learner. I always wanted to get more and learn more. And I get to be that for people now. And that brings me a tremendous amount of joy that I can't explain.
I can relate. I am equally passionate about the work that I do, with coaching people. So I do understand that desire and that satisfaction. And I'm really excited that you have that. And if anyone is interested, again, like if they want to reach out to you, I'm going to have all of your links connected wherever anyone is listening to this. And they can reach out to you. Your niche is in originators and realtors.
For me personally, I coach real estate agents.
Okay.
Growth Only Coaching is currently focused on loan originators. Is the modern marketing platform. We focus a lot on social media and how to build social media, how to pre-suade before we persuade people. And I will say this, some people would probably say I'm arrogant. I try not to be. I'm proud. I believe I am an amazing script smith, and I will give Amir his kudos that Amir Sayed is a better script smith than I am. And it hurts to say that, by the way, just a little bit.
But it's good. It gives you something to shoot for.
It does. But I'm learning from him. And that's the great thing is that, I hit a point, as I mentioned before, that I kind of stopped learning where I was at. And when I came over here, first off, again, the social media structure, I'm not perfect at it yet, but I'm getting better every day. And I have tools. I have tools that I can research now. To be able to work with somebody and be coached by somebody that I feel is actually adding to my repertoire, my tool belt, that's fantastic.
Yes.
So that's a gift in itself.
So we know from analytics that there's right now somewhere, there's young people listening to you and I. And you've already made it clear you started working when you were 19, building a career. Like you came out and it turned out that it wasn't plastics, but you started there, right? If someone is younger and they're listening to you and they want to get serious about building their career, what would you recommend that they do to make that happen?
So to answer that as well as I can, when I started working in the plastic extrusion, I liked tinkering with things. And there was a lot of tinkering involved in that. There was a lot of mechanics involved. There was a lot of, tools involved. And that brought me pleasure and joy. At the end of that, I wasn't able to go back and make the same money, and that brought me more joy than the tinkering. So I had to find something else that I had some sort of joy with, and that was talking to people. And that's why I ended up scared before I did it. But I took the jump and I went into the car sales business, and I was forced to talk. Now, you can't see this on camera, but I'm a flipping giant. I'm 6'10". So I had a niche to be able to go talk to people and say, hey, look, I can fit in this trunk. It's so big. Which I did do that. And just in case you get kidnapped, there's a lever to get out. It's fun little things I was able to leverage with the height, but it also came with its awkwardness of being that size. And these are things that helped me get out of that. And again, it brought joy. And then once I went into mortgage sales, again, I still was following a path of something that I enjoyed doing that brought me some sort of pleasure. Now, the thing about this is for young people is just because videoing yourself and putting yourself on TikTok or God knows how many other media sites there are today brings you joy, doesn't mean that you're going to make money at it.
Right.
Find something that brings you joy and then find the path to the money through that, making sure that you're able to use that. There's people that today that are designing things. I mean, AI is going to take over that job, but like designing video games or writing stories, or my wife today. I mean, again, writing her book, that
Right.
was amazing. Just there's a path, but once you find that path, you got to give it everything and go all in. There's no hot and cold. There's no lukewarm. It's one or the other. So if you're going to do something, you do it passionately, do it to the best of your ability, and make sure that you're getting compensated the way that you're supposed to get compensated for whatever you're doing. Make sure that you're getting what you're worth.
And what I hear in that is make sure that you attach your career to something where you at least have a kernel of interest or passion for it.
Yep. Has to be a speck of joy in there. Has to be.
Mhm.
So, because we all have to earn a living, and sometimes we have to shovel dirt to do it.
Right.
That's the joy of that, is that you're earning a living for whoever you're earning a living for. And that's how we get through those moments. Okay. But there's still joy to be found. But if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
It's an old saying, but a great one. But you have to follow that path somehow. But there's multiple different places that you can get to that path in.
Well, you went into car sales. I'm assuming you were still somewhere around 19 or 20.
Yeah. 20 years old.
20. And the last thing about the young people, oftentimes, I think younger people are dissuaded from pursuing something like car sales or real estate or becoming a loan officer. Did anyone give you any pushback on that? Or with your height, did you escape it? Or you just didn't listen to anyone else and you're like, I'm doing this and I'm going to be number one?
Yeah, when I put my mind on something, that's the focus, that's it. So there was people that would discourage things. Okay, there will always be the naysayers. There will always be
Always.
the doubters. There will always be the energy vampires that take it out of you. That will happen. But you have to be full of an abundance of passion for what you're doing and just do it. And you got to believe in yourself and just keep taking the steps. So sales, I will tell you right now, I do not have a college degree. I did not have to pay back any crazy student loans. I'm in a very good financial position in my life. I've
Right.
made more money than I've ever dreamt of, and I'm very happy. You can do the same thing in real estate. You can do the same thing in mortgages. And for the love of butter, you can do the same thing in car sales if you're good enough. So I had guys that were making, back in those days, making $150,000 to $250,000 a year. And yes, the owners liked them a lot more than they liked me.
That's right. Yes.
So, but it's possible. It's possible. Just energy vampires, man. You got to stay away from them as much as possible. Don't let people tell you that you can. I accidentally made my 7-year-old daughter cry once because I told her, I was like, hey, if daddy tells you something stupid, like you can't do this, like you're not smart, Jazzy, you're not smart. And she started crying. I was like, no, I'm trying to make a point. The 10-year-old's here saying, no, he's trying to make a point. Wait for it. I was like, I don't care who it is. Even me, if I tell you that you can't do something, you don't listen to me. You go do it. Unless I'm telling you, don't burn yourself or blow yourself up.
Right. Don't run in the freeway.
Yeah. But
Right.
it's, I never, possibility is unlimited. I never want those kids to hear the word you can't, unless it's safety reasons.
That's right.
They can do anything that they put their mind to, and I'm going to encourage them like that for their entire life. And, I just, no naysayers. We have plenty of them.
Well, it's funny that sometimes the energy vampires or the naysayers, they actually package it in a costume of love and protection, where they think they're trying to protect someone. So yeah, just be on alert. And you know what? We framed this thinking about 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds. But the reality is the same thing applies. If there is someone out there that is currently on a career path that is not satisfying them, or they're at a great company with a great income, but they're unhappy and they're having physical and mental manifestations, we're talking to them as well. There's going to be naysayers all around you. Make the decision for yourself regardless.
I love my wife more than I love breathing, but I could have said 2 sentences to her that would have stopped that book from appearing. And that's all it would have taken, out of love. But honey, I don't want you to feel like you failed. I don't want
Right.
this. I don't want that. And I'm doing all this stuff over love, but No, just fail forward.
Yes. Yeah, fail
You're gonna
forward.
mess up. Let's make it great, learn from it, and keep going. That's it.
Well, I want to ask one other thing. You did mention how when you left, particularly your last big mortgage company, you used the S word. You said you were scared and you faced it anyway. Any tips for someone who is either through their own choice choosing to make the change? And frankly, there's a lot of people out there today that have been thrust into it through either layoffs or losing their job, and they're scared. So, how do you move yourself as your own leader into facing the fear and still moving ahead?
Begin with the end in mind.
Okay.
So I mean, just having a full understanding of the goal, the possibilities, and the rewards of doing this or taking this chance, and don't look back. Close your ears, put your horse blinders on, move forward. Activity. Again, same thing. Here, I'm scared right now. I'm not performing at the level that I want to do. Okay. It's freaking me out a little bit. But the only thing that I can do is get back on the phone, have another
That's
meeting,
right.
do a podcast. I mean, don't stop talking, Steve. Okay. Opposite of what my wife says sometimes, but don't stop talking, Steve. Don't stop doing what you're supposed to be doing. And for the love of butter, get out of the muck. Okay. But the only way that you do that is you keep moving. You stand still, you sink.
That's right. Yeah. And stay in action. And, you mentioned AI and you mentioned I think human to human connection is even more important now. So just stay, as you said, keep talking to people, get in front of people. If you started working at home 5 years ago and never went back, even though you could, and you find yourself like a hamster in a nest, get out. Make yourself be out in nature again and be in front of people again and connecting to people. I think that it makes a
AI is
big
going to be
difference.
so interesting. Don't you agree? I mean, just looking at this,
Yes.
what we're doing right now could be done by AI horribly right now. You can tell,
Right.
but the fact that it's going to come at a premium to be face to face soon, because you're not going to trust the person on the screen as
On the
much because
screen. Yeah.
we don't know who it is. We don't know what it is. And I'm not one of those, Terminator 2 Judgment Day people that thinks that, well,
Right.
we're going to blow up. But we're either going to have a really bad time or we're going to have a really good time. That's the only two ways this is going to go. It's going to be
Right.
utopia or, oh, we messed up.
Yeah.
But there is, there is a tremendous amount to say about being face to face, voice to voice right now, because I think that there's going to be, in the next 10 years, we're going to see technology move faster than it ever has in our
Ever has.
in the history
Right.
period, because it's going to be the biggest advancements ever. It's mind blowing, but there's also going to be this new level of distrust.
Yeah. There already is. It's starting. I saw it with myself. I'll share. I'm a major YouTube consumer. If they want the average YouTube consumer behavior, it's right here. And I've noticed in the last week or so, I didn't realize I was doing it, and then I caught myself when I start a video now. If I see synthetic AI content disclaimer at the top, I bounce out.
Yep, 100%.
I just bounce out. I was like, I caught myself. I was like, well, there's another behavior that I'm doing. Humans love humans and they crave human connection, even if you think you're a loner. So I think that that's important. And I think it is going to become more critical. The fact that you and I aren't perfect and we skipped over words and we may have stuttered actually will become a hallmark that people seek out.
100%.
So
If it's too perfect in the future, well, but then AI is going to catch up.
yeah, that's right. And they'll start doing it. Yeah.
Let's
So
throw a couple of ums and ers in there.
yeah. One of my previous guests, Panache to say, he said that think about human beings being human and tell yourself that every day you're going to have a moment where you're a human being human and that you're connecting. And I just, for some reason, that really resonated with me. I know it's so simple, but I just loved that. So this has been just, I think, really beneficial because you've built this life by design. You are thriving. Your relationships with your wife and your children and your family, I'm assuming the rest of the family and friends, have a great valued place in your life and you still work hard and you're creating financial success. And when people look at you, I think it's very easy for them to say, well, look at that striking 6'10" guy. Everything must come easily to him. And yet you've shared with us today, you've been fired more than once. You, a couple of times, made major decisions fairly decisively about making a scary choice. Yeah, and yet, like you said, that had to be divine intervention, the serendipitous that you met your wife by making that choice and getting that other position. So I love that you shared that and you were vulnerable, because it is easy when you've been in the industry 21 years and you've been in sales even longer and you're a coach, where people look at you and they think, well, sure, that works for Steve and he's got everything going on. It's easy for him, but it's not for me. And I want everyone listening that I think we've both shown it can be for you as well. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you've been fired or working a job you don't love for 18 years. Like, it doesn't.
How many wonderful stories are there in both of our industries of people
Yeah,
that were doing that, and then they switch to our industries and they're like, oh my gosh, it was the greatest thing ever. And they're superstars
they
because they had,
are.
different work ethic than, some of us do. And I mean, there's just take the chance. My gosh.
One of the most surprising ones to me that I think a lot of people don't know, and I'll share it. In real estate, there are so many former attorneys, lawyers, that leave practicing law and become realtors. And typically the skill set is so aligned that they tend to be high producers. And man, it changes their lives. I mean, I have very good friends that are attorneys. Even if you're in something like that, I bring that example because how much education did they do? How much testing did they go to? How much expenses? And I'm sure, families being so proud and, oh, the attorney. But if you are not thriving and you're not happy, there's other industries that you can do. I think a lot of the school teachers were happy teaching, but they weren't happy with their financial situation
Yeah. Yeah. I
because
mean, that goes
they
back
come
to
over and
coaching
they do
and
well
wanting to do it
too.
for free because it fulfills so much, but we can't
Yeah,
do it for free. We have to
right.
make a living off of things. Joy is the right commerce. So,
Joy. Yeah,
yep. I mean, if you
I
can
agree.
find, there's plenty of people out there that have made less to love what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can make a hell of a lot of money, but it doesn't do you any good in a casket.
Steve, I would love it if you would join us again, maybe next summer, and we
Absolutely.
could pick this up and share how you've grown in your new role with your new company, and with your coaching. And frankly, I would love to have your wife on and talk to her about writing the children's book. And tell me the title again.
It's Princess Gracie and the Magical Strawberry. It's on Amazon.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. If you are listening to the Inner Estate and you're here, I hope that you'll return as well and join us again for the next episode. Everyone, have a great day.